deteriorating between China and the United States, with Beijing declaring it's prepared to go to war with America. The alarming words reflect China's fury over Donald Trump's trade tariffs and coincides with a dramatic boost to its defense spending.
China makes a bold announcement about going to war with the United States. Democrats have learned nothing and are facing the backlash for their actions at the president's first joint Congress address. And Charlie Kirk guests on Gavin Newsom's podcast, where he makes him admit a shocking truth. If you guys appreciate the daily news updates, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I got a lot of crucial updates today, so let's not waste any time. Let's get back on China. So China just threatened war with America. Do you think Joe Biden would have been able to handle this crisis properly, or is Trump the best man to clean up this mess? Type Biden fail if you feel like Biden was just not going to be the man for the job, and type Trump strong if you think we already have the best president that's capable of handling the situation that we're facing here.
China said yesterday that they're ready for any kind of war with the U.S. Because of these tariffs that have been placed on them. Can you speak to how the administration is planning on responding to that?
Well, I think Secretary Hegseth has responded to that this morning. He said that America will always be prepared to defend itself, especially under the leadership of this president in the Oval Office. And that certainly remains true. Again, when it comes to tariffs, the president has been very tough on China, not just now with 20% and more with the reciprocal tariffs that will hit on April 2nd. But look at what he did in his first term. There were billions of dollars worth of tariffs that he implemented on China.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responding to China's increasing aggression following President Trump's tariff plan going into effect this week. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson says, quote, if war is what the U.S. wants, be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end.
They added that exerting extreme pressure on China is the wrong target and the wrong calculation, advising that we should put away our bullying face and instead return to dialogue and cooperation. Their spokesperson was asked about what they meant when they said any other war. They pointed to the U.S., and if we intended to damage any of China's interests, their top foreign policy official, Wang Yi, also called us out and called the U.S. as two-faced. The tariffs from President Trump stemmed from him wanting China to do more to stop the flow of the deadly opioid fentanyl into the United States. Wang, on his end, claims that the fentanyl issue is the responsibility of the U.S. So here's what he had to say. In the spirit of humanitarianism, China has been provided various forms of assistance to the United States, and the U.S. should not repay goodwill with resentment or impose unjustified tariffs. This is not the behavior of a responsible major power. Author Gordon Chang was on Fox News to confirm that this was indeed a threat from China.
Gordon, was that a threat?
It certainly was a threat, and it showed the unhinged mentality of the Chinese regime right now. And by the way, it is not the response of a regime that is growing at around 5%. What it really says is that the Chinese economy is around zero. And so that's why they make threats like this. But, you know, I think it's really important for the Secretary of Defense to say, no, yeah, we're prepared. Because China's form of diplomacy has always been intimidation. That's especially true under Xi Jinping. And we need to say, we're not intimidated.
Well, look, China announced it's increasing its defense budget by 7.2% this year, totaling $245 billion. The Communist Party also reportedly building a huge nuclear-powered aircraft to rival the biggest ship in America's fleet. President Trump announced the creation of an Office of Shipbuilding to bring commercial and military building back to the United States. Watch this.
To boost our defense industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding. We will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below. Now, the most amazing part of the story is what Gavin Newsom is saying saying actually makes sense. And I'm guessing that a lot of conservatives agree with him as well. But the moment that a liberal finally says something sensible, he faces backlash, which tells you everything you need to know about what's wrong with being woke. And I'm guessing that Gavin Newsom's comments will spur an entire civil war within their own party. But we have to address that saying the truth doesn't mean you're speaking down to anyone. All you're doing is stating facts. And if you're hurt by the truth, then it's probably more on you than Newsom. But here's my question. Do you think that Gavin Newsom is taking a more moderate stance because he's running for president by 2028? Now, I want to link you to a previous live stream I did. I covered the shocking news that President Trump just got backstabbed by one of the very people that he picked for the Supreme Court. Make sure you guys check that video out next. It's going to cost American taxpayers a lot of money. As always, appreciate y'all hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. We'll see you next time. Tensions seem to be pretty high between our countries, although I'm guessing that we're not bound to see a full-blown war anytime soon. Hopefully. The tariff wars, on the other hand, are well underway, with fentanyl being at the forefront of it all. Now, moving on, guys, I want to talk about the despicable behavior that Democrats showed recently. And I got to give a lot of credit to Fox News because they went in and they asked these people about their actions. And they couldn't be bothered to clap for anything that the president said during their joint Congress, even things that weren't even partisan at all.
Senator, how's it going? Johnny from Fox. What could Donald Trump do that'll make you clap?
Thank you very much.
What could Donald Trump do that'll make you clap?
I did clap when he said that the United States had supported Ukraine and given them lots of
Well, why not for Laken Riley's mom? How was that speech last night? Did you love it?
Well, I watched it. I don't think that was the best look for our party last night.
Very disappointing.
So you didn't stand up for anything?
The president got before the American people, didn't talk about how he could drive down grocery prices.
Senator, why weren't you standing yesterday for anything?
Very important hearing right now on anti-Semitism.
But you didn't stand for anything at the speech last night.
I don't know what you're talking about, where you got that information.
Well, there was nothing the president had to say.
Laken Riley's mom,
either
you didn't stand for her.
Factual or truthful or anything like that.
We applauded.
You don't think it's worthy to stand up for her like everyone else?
We should applaud.
I need you to move.
Congressman, why didn't you stand for the speech?
Have a good day. I need to go to a meeting.
80% of the American people, according to CBS, loved the speech.
Again, I don't think with the United States...
Are the Democrats out of touch?
The United States of America. Forgive me for going here. Forgive me for being out of breath.
I don't know what speech they were watching.
They were watching the president's speech, Senator.
Really? It wasn't worth watching.
Why was Al Green so disrespectful?
You got to ask Al Green.
So I just pulled up to Congressman Al Green's office, went inside, see if he wanted to talk, because he did a lot of talking at the joint address, but they shooed me away. They said, we're not talking to Johnny.
You gotta love how animated they are when they're criticizing the Republican Party and criticizing President Trump, right? But the moment that you can call out their classless acts, they suddenly forget what they did. Either that or they try pushing journalists away to avoid tough questions. Now, if you ask me, Democrats, they're at a crossroads here. They're desperate for any sort of validation from the public, and they're not really getting it. One that would steer them in the right way for them to have an identity other than hating the president. Which is why I was a little bit surprised with California Governor Gavin Newsom. He actually had Charlie Kirk as a guest on his show. And even better than that, he seems to have admitted that the president was right about removing men from women's sports.
Governor Newsom, a longtime champion of LGBTQ rights, called transgender athletes on girls' and women's sports teams unfair. He made those comments on the premiere episode of his new podcast, which launched today. And lawmakers and activists are now reacting.
That's my humble opinion.
In the first episode of his new podcast called This is Gavin Newsom, the governor spoke with conservative activist, author, and media personality Charlie Kirk.
It's easy to just call it kind of a book ban.
Kirk brought up the topic of trans athletes in high school girls' sports and asked the governor if he'd do anything about it.
Would you say no men in female sports?
Well, I think it's an issue of fairness. I completely agree with you on that.
Newsom then added more context to his position.
There's also a humility and a grace that these poor people are more likely to commit suicide, have anxiety and depression. And the way that people talk down to vulnerable communities is an issue that I have a hard time with as well. So both things I can hold in my hand.
State lawmakers on both sides of the aisle tell us they're surprised by Newsom's remarks.
We've been saying this for years, and I'm stunned today he's actually admitted it. But I just don't know if it's genuine or not, because he's not just some political commentator, he's the governor. So he's actually has the ability to change this policy, and I don't think he's going to change the policy.